Hello everyone, let us solve the very first question from today's weekly contest, that is latest time you can obtain after replacing characters. So in this question you're given a string s and it's representing a 12-hour format time, right, where some of the digits, possibly none, are replaced with this. And now you are given 12-hour times formatted as hours and minutes, right? Hours is between 00 and 11 because this is 12-hour format, right? So we can go from 00 to 11, and means minutes from 00 to 59. Now the earliest 12-hour time is this, that is 00 and 00, and the latest is 11:59. Okay, and what you have to do is, see, they've told you that some of the characters in the string can be these question marks, right? Now what you have to do is, when this question marks appears, you have to replace it with a number, right? So you have to complete this string, right? You have to complete this in numbers. Now given a question mark means you can put any valid digit there, and what you have to do is you have to form a valid 12-hour format time, and it should be the latest possible, right? So latest means towards this, right? It should be as near to this. So if we take the first example, we have 1 and a question mark and a question mark and 4. So here we know the range can lie from 5. Like if I see in this string, we're going to have only 4 characters, right? Which are like used to us. So that is the first character, the second character, the third character, and the fourth character. So for the fourth character, what is the range of the numbers you can have there? So you can have the range as 0 to 9 for this position, right? So this is the fourth position of the string, this is the third position of the string. Here you can have from 0 to 5, right? These are the valid digits that you can have. Now for these two, now here things are going to depend, right? This is the 1 index and this is the 0 index. Here things will depend on to the 0th index. Similarly, for this index, things will depend on to the first index. The reason being, see, if this index is 0, right? Let me write it here. We are seeing for the 0th index and we are seeing for the 1th index, right? So if the value, right, we are checking for the 1 index, how can we, like, what can be the valid numbers that we can put there, right? Valid digit that we can put there. So for 1, we have to check if what is the value at the 0th index, right? If the value at the 0th index, at this index, is equal to 1, then the range for this is going to be 0 comma 1. Okay, reason being, when you have this, see, the latest time possible is 11, right? So when this is already 1, the only choices at this particular position you can have is either 0 or 1, right? Now let's say at the 0th index, a 0 is present, right? If a 0 is present at the 0th index, the possibilities can be from 0 to 9. So these digits we can replace, right? So it's like we have a 0 here, and there is a question mark, and we have something here, right? We don't really care about these right now. So I want to fill this, so I'll check what is at the 1 index, right? What is at the 0th index. So if this value is 0, then the range is 0 to 9 here, right? So I hope that makes sense now. Similarly, for the 0th index, 1th index will matter, right? If my 1 index, if the value or the digit at my 1 index is 1 or 0, correct, then you can see that it's coming under this range. So I can safely fill this 0. See, at the 0th index, there's a question mark. So if I have 1 and 0, so it is coming in this range. So that means I can safely put a 1 at the 0th index. But let's say if at this particular index, at 1th index, we have a 2. So there is no way that we can put another 1 at this particular index, right? So you have to check at 1th index, what are the values present? If it is 1 or 0, then I can simply replace it with a 1, right? Otherwise, I have to replace it with a 0. Now, because I want the latest possible time, right, then these question marks have to be filled with the largest value in the range. For example, here I have the range as 0 and 1, so I have to fill it as 1. Here I have the range as 0 and 9, I have to fill it with 9, right? Similarly, here the range is 0 to 9, so I can fill it with 9. And here, if there's a question mark, the range is 0 to 5, I have to fill 5. right? So that is what the question is, and this is like the gist into the solution to the question, right? And this is exactly what you have to do. So here in this question, don't have to really iterate here. You can simply take these. See, the string length is fixed, right? It's going to be 5 no matter what. So you can target each of these. Now for these two, it really doesn't matter what's present here or what's present here. You can simply place a 9 here, if the question mark is present, and if a question mark is present here, you can simply put 5 here. All right. But for these two positions, you had to check because the maximum number here is 11, right? So for that reason, you have to put two more conditions there, right? So for these two cases, as soon as you encounter a question mark, simply replace it by 9. It is at this position. If a question mark is present, simply place it by 5. But for these two positions, you have to explicitly check. Now, what if both of the first positions are question marks? Then I can simply put a 1 here and a 1 here. So while checking these, you have to check a third condition also. What if it's a question mark? What if it's a question mark? Then you can fill anything. So that basically means you have to fill a 1 here and a 1 here as well, right? So that's how you have to solve this question, right? So I hope you've understood the approach. Let us quickly see the code, then it will be more clear. So I'm only targeting, see, the fourth index and the third index. We really don't care what else is present at any of the other indexes, right? We know the range for this is 0 to 9, the range for this is 0 to 5, and to get the latest possible time, you have to replace it with the highest value in the range. So for fourth index, it's 9, and for third index, it's 5, right? So that is clear. Now for these, we have already discussed the three conditions, right? So see, if this particular at 1th index we have a question mark, right? So we have to check if we have a question mark the 0th index. So I can simply replace it by 1 if this is true. Now, otherwise I have to check if there is a 1, then I can replace it by a 1. But if it is 0, then the highest value I can achieve is 9, right? If it is 0, then the range is going to be 0 to 9, and to get the latest time possible, I have to replace it with 9. Similarly, I'll check for the 0th position and its conditions. So the very first condition is you have to check at what is present at the 1th index. If it is a question mark, replace it by a 1. If it is 1 or 0 at the first index, then you can replace it by a 1. Otherwise, you have to replace it by a 0, right? So these are the all the conditions, and using this you will be able to get the latest possible time string, right? So I hope now the solution is clear. Now if you see this code, the time complexity is big O of 1 only. It's constant because we only have if and else conditions. And as for the space complexity, we are using no space, so again it's going to be big O of 1 only.